Fear is something that lives inside all of us. In the workplace too, many of us have certain fears that we might not be willing to admit to anyone or even to ourselves. We are born, in fact, with only two innate fears: the fear of falling and the fear of loud sounds. All other fears that we might have are actually learned. Certain fears we learn because of the bias that our species has carried toward them during its evolution, such as the fear of snakes. Because they're venomous, both children and adults are fearful of them. Other fears we learn by association. If we are robbed in a dark alley, we could be scared to go down that alley again. Other factors include our culture, for example, and our environment. For instance, a child might not be scared of spiders, but if the parents repeatedly show that they fear spiders, then the child too will learn to fear them. Fear is an adaptive behavior that we have to help identify threats, but it is, after all, fear that has allowed the human species to survive. These fears are all fears that, at one point or another, we become aware of. A myriad of other fears that we realize we have include fear of public speaking, fear of confrontation, fear of being different. Then there are other fears that we have but don't realize we have them. Such fears might include the fear of success, the fear of failure, the fear of change, the fear of the unknown. Nonetheless, we don't spend any time thinking about these fears, whose impact is way greater for the 21st century citizen. And that is because these fears require sometimes serious vulnerability and self-reflection, as they often derive from early life experiences. Many, if not most, of these unconscious fears have a significant impact on our work, and many people could actually deal constantly with such fears. Take the example of an employee who, for every mistake that they make, they are publicly called out by their manager, but they are scared to confront them about it. Or the example of the employee who hides in their shell every single time that there's a new project in their team. These fears make these employees avoid situations that would require them to face their fears because that's what seems safer to them. But by not confronting their manager, the first employee is harming their image. The second employee is missing their chance for some serious growth. Psychologists say that when we are in a state of fear, our ability to process thoughts and events rationally is compromised. When we're in this state, our brain wants to protect us, and so its reaction is either fight or flight. As Freud's pleasure-pain principle suggests, our mission in everything that we do is to seek pleasure and avoid pain. So what most of us naturally do is we avoid the situations that we fear. This drives unproductive behaviors at work, which with time become a pattern. And if we have many fears, then we probably have too many behaviors in our workplace which hold us back from many experiences that would otherwise enrich us. Thus, with time, our fears end up eroding our confidence and our ability to grow and thrive at work, harming us in our career. Studies have shown that we can overcome our fears by continued exposure to them. Indeed, exposure therapy is the most effective psychological treatment in helping people confront their fears. The motivation behind exposure therapy is that avoidance might help reduce feelings of fear in the short term, but over the long term, it can make the fear become even worse. In this form of therapy, psychologists create a safe environment where one is exposed to the things that they fear and tend to avoid. The continued exposure helps reduce the fear and decrease avoidance. Exposure therapy is grounded in the idea of habituation, which means that the original reaction towards the stimulus diminishes in intensity or even disappears. Much like getting used to a constant noise in our surrounding, habituation makes us learn to ignore a stimulus because of repeated exposure to it. In case we don't want to get professional help, what can we do to reduce our fears and decrease our avoidance? First, villainize your fear. Dr. Gabor Mate, who is an expert on trauma, addiction, stress, and childhood development, states that behaviors that at one point earlier in our life served a valid purpose could now be holding us back from something better. The same is valid for our fears. Maybe we have a fear of speaking up. How not speaking up has helped us in the past is in the beginning of our career, for example, when we didn't know much about our job and our working environment, not speaking up made sure we wouldn't embarrass ourselves by saying something wrong, also allowing us to only focus on learning. But that was when we started out. With time, we learned and we accumulated knowledge and experience. So now, by not speaking up, we could miss on an opportunity to share our knowledge and experience, which would help us and our team. Or our manager, for example, would not see our value, thus not considering us for a promotion. We must see our fears not as our saviors, but instead as impediments to achievements. Second, identify where you feel stuck. We might have fears that we are okay with having, but we might also have fears that make us feel stuck. If we are serious about facing our fears, then we might start with the fears that make us feel like we are stuck. They usually are the most obvious ones. They are our pain points. For example, let's say that our pain point is not speaking up. There are many reasons why we fear speaking up. It could be fear of being wrong, of losing face, not wanting to be the center of attention, fear of having our opinion rejected. Third, get to the bottom of your fear. When and where did we first feel our fear? Usually we carry our fears for years without really knowing what prompted them in the first place. We should try to understand what made us learn our fear. Maybe the reason why we are afraid of speaking up is because when we were in first grade, we were the only one among all our classmates to speak up, and we messed it up, and because of it, we were ridiculed. So what we are really afraid of in this case is losing face. The fear of losing face is what drives our behaviors. One being not speaking up, but we could also have other ones as well. Fourth, imagine the worst case scenario. Now that we've identified our real fear about speaking up, what would happen if it came true? If we spoke up, but what we said was in fact wrong, and we felt embarrassed as a result, our colleagues would make fun of us. Okay, so what? If this were to happen, we can recover. We could simply tell them that we're sorry about our sharing of wrong information, for example. We could even join in with some self-deprecating humor. This is one of the main lessons that I have learned in my career. If we are trying and we're learning, of course we will make mistakes, sometimes even big ones. One thing that is certain is that we can always recover from those mistakes and any situation that they put us in. Fifth, now imagine the best case scenario. What if our worst case scenario doesn't happen? Instead, we speak up, and this makes our team have even more respect for us. In fact, go nuts. Our project could have taken a bad turn had we not spoken up, and now not only we avoided that, but we're guaranteeing the success of the project, which will make a great profit for our company and will provide raises for our entire team. Both in the worst and the best case scenario, we push it to the extreme, and more often than not, we realize how ridiculous the things that we imagine sound. Sixth, make a plan and start small. Even though we can imagine worst and best case scenarios for our fears, when it comes to real situations, the chances are that if we dive into a situation where we are terribly fearful, our fears will win most of the time. But not if we face our fears little by little. Instead of speaking up for the first time during an important meeting, we could do it at the coffee shop. When the bartender messes up our order, instead of taking whatever they give us, we could correct their mistake and ask for our original order. At work, we could first speak up in a meeting with just a few people, our closest colleagues. We could choose to speak up about something simple and non-controversial first. What this does is, firstly, we don't get a negative result. The chances that we lose face by correcting the bartender are pretty slim. And secondly, we gain practice in not avoiding. So when the time comes that we have to speak up about something more important, it's easier for us to do so. And lastly, change your relationship with fear going forward. It's been a while that I've taken on swimming as my main physical activity. I have heard many swimming coaches talk about the fear of water. What they say is the water is scary for many because it is very powerful, but what we have to realize is that if we start swimming in order to win against the water, we will lose every single time. What we need to do instead is swim with the water and not against it. In this way, not only will we not feel the resistance of the water, but we will use it to help us propel forward. In the same way, we should use our fears as a way of telling us what we need to do, because it is exactly that what will make us get better. Additionally, I would like to say that if you're in a leadership position, help your team with their fears. A leader can have a great impact on making their team overcome their fears. When a team is built upon trust, when the leader can praise their team members for their strengths, when they encourage positive conflict among all of them, everyone is more willing to face their fears because they want to succeed and they want to see everyone else succeed as well. This is all for this week's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, don't forget to hit the like button, and why not share it with people you think this would be helpful to. I will see you all next time.